right, here we go. We're playing the clip.
Committing brutal crimes against girls he dated. He may look meek in police body camera footage, but police say he assaulted, raped, and even strangled fellow teenagers. And a surprise sweetheart deal took his prison term from a possible 70 years down to 0. We're taking a closer look at how the teen and his mom reacted to police taking him into custody. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey, before we get into this episode of On the Case, I want to talk about our partner and
We're going to skip the ad. All right, here we go. So this video is Law and Crime. It's a really great YouTube channel to kind of catch up and watch some of this stuff. But all right, here we go.
In August, 18-year-old Jesse Butler of Stillwater, Oklahoma, entered a no contest plea to 11 heinous charges, including rape, attempted forced oral sodomy, and more. He was staring down a nearly 80-year prison sentence, but in a shocking twist, the court agreed to grant Butler youthful offender status, and instead of going to prison...
Youthful offender status. So, how... Youthful offender status. What in the hey does that mean? I need to know how old Jesse actually was. All right, pull up the Google. How old was Jesse Butler? Because we need to see just how youthful this specimen is. How old was Jesse Butler when arrested? I need to see this. 17 years old, still but a spring chicken. Although he was 18 by the time of his plea. You know, when you do something like this, you deserve no sympathy from me. No. Youthful offender status. Jeez.
Prison, Butler went home with instructions on how to complete counseling and community service requirements. Butler's exact treatment plan, it's sealed in the court record, but the district attorney's office released this statement, quote, "The youthful offender sentence imposed against Jesse Butler requires him to complete his rehabilitation plan successfully, including an aggressive schedule of therapy with a specialist in sex offender treatment, and should he fail, he faces reclassification as an adult and a sentence of 10 years in prison."
He has 3 victims and all he's getting is 10 years. I'm going to share with you guys a little story. So my mom in 2018 was killed by a drunk driver in Stillwater. And the person who killed her, also only got 10 years. Driving drunk and killed a woman. So, if you're noticing a pattern with the Payne County Court, if you're young and white and possibly have connections with the higher-ups in Stillwater, you're gonna get off with a slap on the wrist.
The change in punishment sent shockwaves through the community. It devastated the 2 girls who had gone to school officials to report what Butler had done to them. A mom of one of the victims told the outlet Tulsa World that the families were completely against youthful offender status from the beginning and said that it was their understanding that the prosecutor trying this case would not accept a deal like that. Photos have been released showing one of the victims in the hospital after apparently repeated assaults by Butler. The victim's family says she ended up needing surgery because of severe damage to a vein in her neck. There are calls for the judge who approved Butler's deal, Special Judge Susan Worthington, to be...
Susan Worthington. If you ask me, she's not very worthy of her title. If you ask me, right, Blue? She doesn't think I'm funny. Well, I'll say this. This lady looks very Stillwater coded. Stillwater is a college town during the academic year, and is a retirement community all the time. So the type of people that you get in Stillwater are it's kind of a mixed bag. It's still Oklahoma, so you've got like right wing younger people in Oklahoma, especially kids who grew up in Stillwater. But you've also got progressives that live there, kind of flying in and out with the academic school year. So let's learn a little bit more about Miss Worthington.
Reprimanded or removed for okaying this deal. Now, in just a moment, I'll talk to a judge who has advocated for youthful offender programs to discuss whether this one is a step too far. But first, I want to let you know what 2 official affidavits have to say about Butler's behavior and how he reacted when he found out he'd actually be taken into custody. According to the first affidavit, a 16-year-old identified by her initials LS told a school resource officer in September of 2024 that she dated Jesse Butler for a few months earlier in the year, and that during that time he physically and sexually assaulted her multiple times, including trying to rape her inside his car outside an ice cream shop the previous February. The affidavit reads, quote, LS reported she yelled and told him no repeatedly and tried to push him off of her, but was unable to overpower him. LS reported Butler told her he was sorry for what he had to do, but he had to do it. LS recalled hyperventilating because Butler intended to have sexual intercourse with her and she did not want to.
This monster thinks that he is entitled to have any woman he wants to, and if he is told no, and I can just tell from his mother, like, his mom never told him no, and that's why, because I'm sure that his mom has some kind of connections with Payne County, whether it be the police department or the city hall. He gets let off for anything, and that is a thing that happens a lot in Stillwater. If you have connections, then you're pretty much a sovereign citizen.
According to LS, a woman must have heard her screaming because she walked up to the car and interrupted them. LS told police that Butler told her that if the police came, they would both be in trouble. He reportedly took her back to his home where her car was parked and tried to rape her again. The affidavit reads, quote, LS told Butler she needed to get home, but Butler pulled her on top of him and told her, you're not going until I'm finished.
Completely entitled. Completely entitled. Jesse gets what Jesse wants.
She said she was able to get away and go home, but this wasn't the only time that an adult may have witnessed Butler trying to assault LS. The teen says that she was at the Butler home in their movie room when Butler took his clothes off and tried to have sex with her.
Movie room. These people have money.
She says Butler's mom came to the door asking if everything was okay, but the affidavit doesn't say anything else about her reaction to what she might have seen or heard. In late February of 2024, Butler reportedly strangled her because she refused to have sex with him. The affidavit says, quote, LS reported she was hyperventilating and then recalled her vision being blurry and she was dizzy. She reported her head immediately hurt and she was confused about what had occurred. She was scared of Butler, but when she regained consciousness, Butler was laughing at her. Following this incident, LS reported she had a handprint and an injury on her neck.
Sickening. Absolutely sickening.
Butler and LS apparently broke up in March 2024, and he started dating a girl identified as KS, and his disturbing and aggressive behavior allegedly continued. A second affidavit details the assaults KS says she suffered during the relationship. Quote, KS reported Butler had left bruises on her hips from squeezing her so tightly. KS reported the intercourse was extremely aggressive, but she reported she quickly stopped fighting it because Butler would overpower her and hurt her to get his way. KS explained that she learned what to and what not to do to avoid being hurt by Butler. According to KS, Butler would pin her down and she was physically unable to get him off of her. KS stated this would often lead her to hyperventilate, which Butler thought was funny.
I wonder if he has brothers, and I wonder what his dad does in the community. Because this is learned behavior. This is absolutely learned behavior, and I have seen so many men and young men who are like this in Oklahoma. It is a disease. What a heavy thing to join in on. I'm so sorry. But you're more than welcome here. It will get a little bit more lighthearted. I just wanted to kind of add my voice to the discussion as a woman and also somebody who grew up in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where this guy is from. Oh, are you also a Stillwater native? Stratos? I'm sure you're one of my homies. But yeah, us Oklahomies, we gotta stick together. It's rough out there, especially as a woman. OKC, okay, I mean, still just as difficult. All right, let's carry on.
According to the affidavit, Butler also strangled KS so long that she eventually passed out. She reported she woke up on the floor of the living room in a home where she was house sitting.
Hang on, pause for just a second. Look at what this dog is doing. Blue, come here. What are you doing? Look at this dog. Oh, she wants to be pet so bad. You're in Colorado now, and it's way better. Oh, heck yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you get to be somewhere that you enjoy living. I grew up in Oklahoma. Well, okay, I was born in Arizona. Lived there until I was 12 years old, 11. And then we lost our house during 2008, the Great Recession, and we were forced to move to Oklahoma, and that's where I grew up until I graduated from college, and it's rough out there. It is not easy, but all right, let's carry on. Laptop reaction, all right.
Claims Butler was livid that she wouldn't have sex with him in someone else's home, so she says he raped her instead. Later that same week, KS reported that Butler choked her again, and it's for a sick reason. The affidavit says, quote, KS stated Butler told her he wanted to strangle her so he could film it on his phone. And if you can believe it, police found that video on Butler's phone, which showed him choking KS until she passed out. Butler was charged.
One thing I will never understand is if you're gonna do a crime, why would you film it? Like, I mean, obviously this freaking monster, his brain is scrambled. Kevin Stitt. Oh yeah. He is he's a real special individual. You know, now that I think about it, old Jesse Butler here kind of looks like Kevin Stitt a little bit. Let me pull up a picture of old Kevin Stitt. For those of you who don't know, Kevin Stitt is the current governor of Oklahoma. These guys look... Oh, no. Wow. Oh, that's the wrong one. Wow. Can you see the resemblance? He looks like he could... We gotta do a side-by-side. Okay. We gotta do a side-by-side. Name the... Can you spot the difference? He looks like an illegitimate son, for real. I know! It's kind of uncanny, like... Oh my god. So, yep. Alright, let's carry on. I swear to God, he looks like the illegitimate son of Kevin Stitt, for real.
Charged in March 2025 with 10 counts. An 11th was eventually tacked on when he reportedly violated a protective order. We got our hands on body camera footage from Stillwater police that shows officers arriving at the Butler home and taking the teary-eyed young man into custody.
We're ready to obviously tell our story too.
Yeah.
Jess, it's Mom. Open the door. It's me.
And if you'll just have him step out.
Okay. Give me your wallet and phone and stuff. So, okay.
Oh my god. He looks so squishy. Ugh. He looks so slimy.
Your what?
They're in the car.
Well, okay, it's fine. It's not locked or anything, is it? Okay. So, can you tell him what you just told me, or?
Yeah, so we're here. We're obviously going to place you under arrest. There's a warrant for your arrest. We're going to take you to the jail. I told your mom that she can contact a bondsman.
The fact that she is comforting him, ma'am, your son assaulted 3 girls. Oh my God. And he's trying to look like such a victim. Oh my gosh. I'm getting triggered.
And you shouldn't be very long, but there just is a process for paperwork and stuff. But right now you do have to come with us, and I do have to put you in handcuffs. So turn around for me.
You have to put him in handcuffs?
Yes! Yes, you have to put him in handcuffs. Oh my gosh.
Transport somebody in custody.
You know what's crazy to me? This law enforcement, they're really treating him with baby gloves, for real. And like, you know, you get people who are pulled over for like weed charges, and you get freaking bodied and your face shoved in the dirt. And this just says everything.
You know we're doing this. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, honey. It's okay.
I'll get you out.
I'll get
Okay.
you out.
Alright, stay silent. Rick knows about this. Candy's on this.
Rick? Candy? Who is Rick and Candy?
Yeah.
I'll get you out.
I'll get you
Okay.
out.
Alright, stay silent. Rick knows
about this.
Candy's on this. Dad's on his way. We're coming to get you, okay? Just stay strong, okay?
I wonder who
Say your
that
prayers.
Okay, so he's going to go right to the city of Stillwater jail, and if you'll just contact her, then she does this all the
knows what
time.
to do.
She knows what to do.
Yep.
Make sure
Okay.
she knows Stillwater Police Department, not county.
Yeah.
Stillwater Police Department.
Yeah.
On Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them know that
perfect.
we're the ones that picked him up.
And
They
when
don't-
you say we are the
Stillwater PD.
Stillwater PD.
Yeah,
Okay.
that way they don't think he went like straight over and he's over at the county.
Awful experience for a child.
I'm trying to recognize what neighborhood this is. I honestly don't know.
Pass it down and spread your feet for me.
I mean, look at these. This is a 3-car garage neighborhood. These people have money. They have a movie room. Rick and Candy are on the case.
Nothing in their socks.
Good, Jess. See you in a bit.
Butler was released on a $25,000 bond. When he entered his no contest plea over the summer, the mom of LS shared her victim impact statement online, and it says in part, quote, "I've had to carry this weight while going to school, trying to act like I'm okay. I've woken up from nightmares that make me feel like I'm being attacked all over."
Blue is yelling at me. Blue, would you like to go outside? All right, come on.
Over again. I've had to explain bruises, explain silence, explain why I started isolating from people who loved me. You didn't just strangle me with your hands, you strangled my voice, my joy, my ability to feel safe in my own body. I will never forget the night you strangled me unconscious because I said no. The moment changed my life. A medical professional later told me that I was just 30 seconds away from dying. 30 seconds. If you had just kept your hands on my neck just a little longer, I wouldn't be standing here today. That wasn't just a scare. It was a near-death experience. You didn't just hurt me, you nearly killed me. LS also addressed Butler's mom and dad in her statement, saying, quote, "To Jesse's parents, I don't know what you know. I don't know if you heard me crying through the walls or noticed how your son treated me when no one was looking, but I hope you hear this now. Your son hurt me in ways that cannot be undone, and I need you to understand that your silence, your protection of him, or even your denial, that would hurt too.
Yes.
Because someone should have stopped this. Someone should have seen the bruises and the fear."
Right. Mommy shouldn't have been offering a consoling tit for Jesse to suckle.
My colleague Law and Crime's Jesse Weber recently sat down with Justin Shepard, known on social media as Just in the Nick of Crime, who did some of the first reporting on this story and spoke with people in Stillwater.
What have you learned here about how this is even possible? Because I will tell you, there is a lot of speculation online right now that the Butler family may have connections that may have helped him get this so-called sweetheart deal. We couldn't confirm that.
Right? Who the hell is Rick and Candy? We got to investigate this.
What can you tell us?
So I've spoken with some of the families as well of both victims who came forward against Jesse. There is a third victim who, if she hasn't come forward, but can you blame her when you look at this as the justice that they get?
No.
So there's a third victim. And kind of like you said, the speculation is that Jesse Mac Butler's father is a man by the name of Mac Butler. And he was the head of football operations at
Mac Butler. Mac Butler, head of football operations. You know what? The football in Stillwater is a big deal. I'll tell you that much. Mac Butler, head of football operations. Stillwater. Okay. Let's look into old boy Mac Butler. Show me. No longer head of football operations for Oklahoma. Okay, so. Okay, he served from 2001 to 2004 and again from 09 to 21, playing a key behind-the-scenes role in organizing the football program's operations, travel, and logistics. Following his tenure at OSU, Butler was hired in 22 as the Assistant Athletics Director for Stillwater Public School, a position he currently holds. In this role, he oversees athletic administration and operations within the local school district, bringing his extensive experience from college. His son sparked national outrage, which we are looking into now. Let me see what little yeesh. Oof. I think who really is Jesse Butler's father? Could it be Kevin Stitt? that would be wild. But could it be true? Hey, thanks for the cool shirt compliment. A really cool guy bought it for me. Alright, here we go. Carrying on. We're not doing creeps in court right now. Alright. Let's finish the clip here.
At OSU for, I forget how many years, but for a pretty long time. He's, kind of a staple in that community. And when we're talking about Stillwater, Oklahoma, we're talking about OSU, for people who don't know, Stillwater is the town that Oklahoma State University is in. So there's a lot of things tied to that. Mac Butler, it seems that he grew up there. His wife currently works for OSU. His daughter works for the public school system there. He was apparently had been hired as like a coach of some kind for Stillwater High School as well. So somebody with deep-rooted ties into the community, and that then leads you to the judge in this case, or one of the judges in this case, Judge Susan Worthington. Between her and her father, the Worthingtons have had a hold on that bench for over 50 years.
Okay.
So while you can't necessarily say definitively that, hey, there's...
And that is how you have a monarchy within a democracy, because these people have had positions of power for half a century. He's highly connected to the football, which is the biggest thing in Stillwater. The music and arts always heavily suffered because there was always like money being put aside for the football and football this, football that, and OSU, Stillwater football, music. Nah. You are from OKC, you still live there? No, I'm from Stillwater. I grew up in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I did live in OKC for a little while, but this story, this is covering my hometown. So I thought it would be a good idea to cover it because I have ties to Stillwater. So yeah, like I was saying before, like there are so many men and boys who have this type of attitude in this town in particular. There's a lot of entitlement in Stillwater.
This connection here because he's deep rooted in football. You know, she's a judge. They all grew up in the same town. That there's this kind of connection, but it's not really many difficult mental gymnastics to make that leap, right? That hey, this is a town that requires the college, needs the college to survive. It's very deep rooted into the system, that they're very much supportive of OSU for this whole kind of thing to be very close knit, and that's kind of what's being speculated, to the point that even it's now gotten the attention of one of Oklahoma's lawmakers, Representative J.J. Humphrey, who's also running for lieutenant governor. I'm actually going to be speaking with him later tonight. A little bit more details, but
yeah, and if you can, I don't know if you've spoken with him already, but Representative Humphrey.
This dude, he looks like Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Is talking, my understanding is about a potential investigation into this. Is this true? Is there going to be a formal investigation into what happened here?
It sounds that way, yeah. He kind of looks at it from the same way. He was telling me that he's got a lot of background, in the court system and investigation before he got into politics. And he said, basically kind of the same thing that we were just talking about, that can he say definitively, or can he prove right now that there's a connection? No, but his exact words, but it sure as hell smacks like it.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's like, it's worth an investigation. So he's thinking about, wanting to put a grand jury together to do an indictment, possibly, He
said possibly.
The conversation we had, which we'll go a little bit more in depth in, I don't know if that could bring additional charges against Jesse, because when you look again at the litany of charges, there are some that should have been on there that weren't. Like, in my opinion, as not a lawyer, why he wasn't charged with attempted murder.
Right.
When one of the girls was near death.
Yeah.
For what he did. And so those are kind of the conversations, but he feels that not just Stillwater, that entire county, Payne County, and then other
shout out. That's my high school, guys.
Other places in Oklahoma, there's a lot of, he said it flat out, there's corruption, and he believes that this is no different than that. And it merits an investigation.
Joining us now to talk more about this case is Judge Brandon Birmingham from Dallas, Texas. Thank you, sir, for being with us here on Law and Crime. In this case, there's youthful offender status, which is what the defendant received in this case. Just first explain, I know this is something that you know well about in your district where you work as a judge. What is youthful offender status?
It is a status that's assigned really to those that are juveniles or on the cusp of being a juvenile, where the punishment for certain crimes is lesser than it would be for an adult. And they have certain programs, certain conditions under the law that the judge can order somebody to go through, and it's a little different for those that are younger than it is for adults.
How does that compare to, because in this case, the defendant was 18 years old at the time that this deal was reached, but it's not a situation where maybe he was 15 years old or 14 where this would be a juvenile.
Hey, he was old enough to try and kill somebody and to, do the dirty. So, in my opinion, if you want to play with the big leagues, you get the big league punishments.
Case. How does the youthful offender status compare to what you might see in a juvenile case?
It's just a function of punishment. I think there's the idea in assessing a punishment that those that are younger are more likely to make mistakes and need to learn from those mistakes, as opposed to somebody who's, let's say, in their mid-20s or maybe in their 30s, or that's an adult that we expect them to behave in a certain way. And
this is not making a mistake. This is a choice. He made a choice, not a mistake, a choice. 3 times. He knew what he was doing. A mistake, you try not to make a mistake again. But he did it 3 times.
Maybe not laws that are written in a formula, but I think when considering what a person's punishment ought to be, somebody's age and experience has always been taken into account.
In this particular case, this was a no contest plea. So this was a deal that was reached between the defense and the prosecution. For you as a judge, just when these cases go through, And what is your role in this? Because I think for there to be in a case like this where there is going to be criticism, and that's just the way it is, and I know you know with your job that there's always going to be criticism of the system in these types of cases. What is the job of a judge? What are you looking for if a prosecutor and a defense attorney come to you and say, we've reached this agreement that youthful offender status is what we're going to move forward with?
Well, the job of a judge really is to make sure that all of the processes are followed to a T, and that everybody, both sides, I say everybody, both sides has availed themselves to the opportunities under the law to be prepared.
This dude is just yapping. I'm sorry. He has nothing meaningful to contribute to the conversation, in my opinion.
Good resolution for this. How does maybe violent tendencies, the threat of maybe reoffending, how does that go into whether or not this person would be a good candidate for this, as opposed to what could have been, I mean, the good majority of his life in prison?
Yeah, you're looking at a prediction of what you think might happen in the future, essentially. That's one component of assessing punishment or an outcome in a criminal case. And one of the ideas is that somebody's history will indicate how they're going to act in the future. And so when you're saying, okay, does this person deserve more a lighter sentence or rehabilitation, you're asking yourself first, can they be rehabilitated? And is there still hope for them to be rehabilitated? That's one component of a very complicated.
I mean, maybe if he served a really long prison sentence, maybe there would be hope for him to be rehabilitated so that he can live with the consequences of his actions.
A nuanced issue. The other one, of course, is what are the facts of the case? In other words, if somebody could commit a horrible crime, they might have all the potential to be rehabilitated, but the crime itself is such that maybe that they just need to be punished. And there's always that tension between what's best for the defendant on the one hand, what's best for society, and then, of course, what's best for the victim and what their voice is and how that voice is heard in the sentencing process. But all of it, to go back to your first question, the lawyers are assessing their cases, and you know, there's strengths and weaknesses in every case, and allegations are allegations. You've got to eventually...
As a judge, I mean, it's so rare that we get to actually talk to someone who sits in the chair. How do you deal with some of those deals that may come across that you know are public, that may have criticism of it, and knowing that you're presiding over something that's probably going to get a lot of heat from the public and from people? Yeah, there is probably information we don't know in this case, but you know that there's going to be a lot of frustration from the public when it goes through.
How much do you want to bet we're going to get a straight answer from this guy?
And I've been in that situation before many times, some of it in very public settings and some of it not public. But either way, you know as a judge that every decision you make, you're going to disappoint precisely half of the people that are looking back at you, and sometimes everybody. And so what you have to do is fall back on what your role is as a judge. And we are process followers. We make sure that the process is followed. We also make sure that everybody stays within their roles. And so that is procedural justice, procedural due process. And so we have to adhere to that. The public outrage is going to come. And we're not here to be popular. We're here to be stewards of the law. I think that, you know, there's accountability for that too, in the sense that the decisions we make, we are not the end-all be-all. If there is something untoward that's gone on in any given case, there's a process in place, a review process. We answer, unlike the Supreme Court justices of the United States, you know, we do have a reviewing body that looks at whether we did something that was outside of our processes. And we have to be held accountable for that, and we should be. There should be a transparency. I guess the line is that we could never be held accountable for a decision that we make within the realm of discretion. We can always be held accountable for decisions we make that are outside of that process, outside of the law, whether it's ex parte communications, you know, bribery, things like that.
So I think the long and short of what he's saying is, I'm just following the law here. My job is to just do what the law says.
For Butler, once he finishes the treatment plan that he's going to be going through, is there any sort of monitoring of him that could continue on? Like, I think of someone who, you know, if he was 26 years old, he goes to prison, he might be a registered sex offender when he comes out, and he has to follow those guidelines. In many states, it would be for the rest of your life. In a youthful offender status situation like this, once he finishes the treatment plan, what would happen next?
Well, if he finishes it successfully, he doesn't go to prison. I think that one of the parts of this is that he has to complete it, and if he doesn't, then he's looking at, I believe, up to 10 years in prison as a result of that. So
not enough.
there is some accountability for him to finish, but if he finishes it successfully, then he's off of what is very similar, I guess, to like a probation. He's off of that status. And
they basically just gave him homework.
I actually started a youthful offenders program here in Dallas, and it was geared towards those 17 to 25-year-olds that did dumb things when they were 17 to 25. And
okay, I understand maybe like 17, but maybe like 18 or 19, but 20 to 25? Come on.
I don't mean to say that this is one of those things. They're geared towards certain crimes, but with the right environment, you try to seek out the root causes of the problems. Now, that could be substance abuse, that could be mental health, and if you can treat those problems, then you go a long way towards making sure this.
Okay, substance abuse and mental health, I can understand, but when you're actively hurting somebody else, especially in a sexual assault capacity, there should be no room for youthful offender status.
Doesn't happen again, but that it should not be used as a way to get out from under accountability and punishment in the appropriate circumstance. So it's that tension that we talked about right at the very beginning. What's best for the defendant, what's best for the public, and of course what's best for the victim, and they're having their day in court as well.
Yeah, and this is just it's a sad case. You think of these two young girls, the strength and courage they had to come forward. I know their parents have been frustrated with this. We'll see how any sort of investigation plays out in it. And one more actually, as I think about that, if there is a plea deal that the public's unhappy with, like in this one, is there any way other than an investigation to find something that happened outside of the law, any way to do any sort of take back on that deal and re-sentence someone like Butler in this case?
No, once the plea is done, it's final. There's going to be no, there's certain procedural things that would have to happen in order for somebody to grant a new trial.
So I'm going to show you guys something. When Jesse was sentenced, there was a little bit of vandalism on the Stillwater sign, the Welcome to Stillwater sign. I'm going to show you that. So they were talking about the public outrage. Let's see, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Where is it? So this was the sign. This is not the actual vandalism, but I'm not able to find it. But basically, they crossed out where Oklahoma began, and they wrote, so it said Stillwater protects rapists. So yeah. That was part of the public outrage. I wonder if I can find the picture of the actual vandalism. I'm not advocating for vandalism. I'm just pointing out. Yeah, the community was not happy. But anyway, final thoughts. Final thoughts on this case. Jesse Butler is a monster, and let's be real, he got off very, very easy. Almost killing one girl, really hurting two other girls. He knew what he was doing was wrong. Even in one of the quotes, he said, "I'm sorry, but I have to do this." So he knew that what he was doing is wrong. So there should be no youthful offender status. But yeah, final thoughts. This dude, he got off easy. He basically got homework. And he definitely had connections in Stillwater, without a doubt. I think we need to find out who Rick is. We need to find out who Candy is. And we need answers.